I'm Terry Trippler with Airline Basics. Today we're talking about an open jaw trip. Now there's two types of open jaw trip. I'd call them open jaw trip A and open jaw trip B. So let's see what the airlines have to say. Again, we have here AirTran, Midwest, and Southwest only publish one-way fares. Therefore, there's no reason for them to be involved in open jaw, so they do not publish a definition of an open jaw trip. Alaska, American, and Frontier. These three airlines have a similar rule. And their rule says the origin and final destination is the same point. The turnaround points are not the same points. And the air miles for each flown segment must be the same or greater than the non-flown segment. Gets a little confusing, but look on the screen and you'll see the example. We have MSP to Dallas-Fort Worth. On American, it's 854 miles. Now you're not going to fly between Dallas-Fort Worth and Oklahoma City. You're going to take surface transportation, you're going to hitchhike, you're going to swim, you're going to do whatever. And the miles, the air miles between Dallas and Oklahoma City is 179. The non-flown miles is 179. Then you're going to fly home from Oklahoma City to Minneapolis-St. Paul on American. It's 696 miles. So what we have is the point of origin and final destination are the same, Minneapolis-St. Paul. But the turnaround points, Dallas-Fort Worth and Oklahoma City, are not the same. This is an open jaw. Now, these three airlines require a mileage situation where the open part of the jaw, the difference between Dallas or Oklahoma City and Dallas that you don't fly, the mileage has to be equal to or less than the mileage of the two segments flown. Well, what we have is the shortest segment flown is Oklahoma City to Minneapolis. That's 696 miles, and the non-flown miles is only 179. Yes, this open jaw qualifies. So you could have an open jaw trip on this particular one. Now, if we look at Continental, Delta, Sun Country, United, and U.S. Airways, they basically have the same explanation of an open jaw, but they don't include the mileage requirement. Their rule says that you have the origin and ultimate final destination are the same point, and the turnaround points are not the same point. That's very simple. The origin and ultimate destination are the same, but the turnaround points are not. So we have a sample here of Minneapolis-St. Paul to Salt Lake City on Delta. Now we're going to have surface transportation, or however we're going to get to Denver, it doesn't matter. And now we're flying again, Denver to Minneapolis-St. Paul on Delta. Now we didn't have to put mileage in here because their rule does not require that mileage gauge that the rule for Alaska, American, and Frontier does. Again, so what we have is we have the origin is Minneapolis-St. Paul, the final destination is Minneapolis-St. Paul, and the turnaround points are Salt Lake City, that's what you're going to, and Denver, you're coming from. Now, I want to mention that while these five airlines do not write the mileage principle or the mileage requirement in this general rule, virtually all of them write it in the fare rule that applies. So many times when you're looking at fare rules on these airlines, and it will say open jaw permitted or single open jaw permitted, and then it'll go on to talk about mileage. So what it's basically saying is the same thing that these other three airlines said in their general rules, that the miles between the points not flown have to be equal to or less than the shortest segment flown. But in the general rules, no, it's an open jaw, and that does come into play when we look at some of these international destinations that you can use an open jaw on these airlines and you can't on others. But that's it on the open jaw A, and I'm Terry Trippler for Airline Basics.